Colorado is a state in the Mountain West subregion of the western United States. It encompasses most of the southern Rocky Mountains, as well as the northeastern portion of the Colorado Plateau and the western edge of the Great Plains. Colorado is the 8th most extensive and 21st most populous U.S. state. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 5. The Hotel Colorado. The Hotel Colorado is a Glenwood Springs icon. It opened for business in 1893, just 8 years after the town itself was incorporated, to attract a wealthy and elite to the wild frontier mining town that was Glenwood Springs. The hotel was styled after the luxurious resorts of Italy, complete with a European-style spa, tennis courts, a Victorian garden, a bird sanctuary, a 185-foot fountain of water, and an indoor waterfall. But there's more to this impressive hotel that meets the eye. Some say that the Ute Indians, when they were displaced from the land in 1880, put a curse on the land where the hotel now stands. Some say that the ghosts of guests who have died in the hotel over the years still roam the halls. In any case, the history of the haunted hotel is filled with stories that defy a natural explanation. The hotel's basement has played host to its fair share of surprising phenomena over the years. To enthusiasts of the supernatural, these stories are hardly surprising. The hotel is very old, and the basement even served as the morgue when the hotel was a naval hospital during World War II. In 1993, a houseman named Dave was doing his nightly rounds in the basement when he saw an old woman peering into the basement window with her hands cupped around her face. The window was quite deep and usually required a ladder to get into, so Dave was concerned that she might have fallen in and hurt herself. He walked across the room to turn on the light switch, but when he turned back to the window, she was gone. At another time, a security guard named Richard was conducting a nighttime tour for 6 people. The group was standing outside the office of the executive housekeeper when they heard 2 women talking and a typewriter clicking in the next room. When they looked in the room, there was no one there. Stranger still, there's no record of a typewriter ever being kept there. On the main floor, a notable ghost named Bobby dates back to at least World War II. The story goes that she was a nurse at the Naval Hospital during the war and was allegedly killed by a jealous lover, who was an officer stationed at the hotel. The rumor is they were shipped out to cover up their crimes, but the story was leaked by local hospital workers. Over the years, Bobby has surfaced in a number of stories around the hotel, especially associated with the dining room around lunch and dinner. Guests and hotel workers have reported smelling a specific perfume, trailing from Bobby's favorite table to the buffet line and back. Some guests have identified it as gardenia, a perfume from the 30s and 40s that's no longer in production. There's no doubt that the hotel has played host to a series of spooky encounters. Number 4. Haunted Tunnels. Of all the ghost stories you'll hear, the tale of Gold Camp Road's haunted tunnels is one of the most popular. Gold Camp Road begins in Colorado Springs and winds its way precariously to Cripple Creek. There are 3 tunnels along the gravel road, one of which is collapsed. One of the most common origin stories of this haunt claims that long ago, one of the tunnels collapsed with a busload of school children inside. There were no survivors, well, unless you count the spirits hikers and drivers have claimed to encounter. Visitors to the location have said that you can hear children laughing and playing when there are no kids anywhere nearby. In many, a high schooler has stopped their car in the second tunnel, killed the engine, and put the vehicle in neutral to see if the ghost will push the car forward to try to save the occupants from their fate. Some people even claim to see tiny fingerprints on the windows after they leave the tunnel. Another tale from Gold Camp lore goes back before the story of the lost school children. Apparently, the tunnels were doomed from the very beginning. During construction, it is said that part of the tunnel collapsed, burying one of the workers alive. His spirit remains locked forever to the site of his horrifying demise. Other terrifying encounters include feelings of being watched, being touched or pushed, and even physical harm like scratches and bruising. Number 3. Antlers Hotel. Most recently rebuilt in 1967, the Antlers Hotel has actually existed in some form or another since 1883. With its long history, it has become well known by locals and ghost hunters from around the world. The hotel is said to have at least 3 ghostly residents. One of the spirits is often found in a bar called Judge Baldwin's Bar. The other ghosts are female, one of which is said to be a young girl who committed suicide in the 1970s. These sightings do nothing to detract from the appeal of this classic, sophisticated hotel in Colorado Springs. Number 2. Mimicking Creature in the Woods, from Kevin L., Denver, Colorado. Myself and a few friends Chris, James, and Grant were hiking in mid-spring of 2009. We had been walking for about 10 minutes when I saw what looked like a deer in the distance to my right, and I swear to God it stood up on its hind legs. I called to my friend Chris, who was out in front of our group, and said to the others to look to the right, and they did. James laughed and said it looks like a guy, and Grant suggested it was another group of people out walking as well. I told them it stood up and that it appeared to be some sort of deformed deer. I tried to get them to look. I was adamant about it, but they looked at me like I was stupid and continued laughing and joking amongst themselves. Then, out of nowhere, we heard a sort of yelp and saw someone or something hunched over near some brush with the back turned towards us. Chris called out at it, and there was no reply. He called again, and nothing. Then we all shouted out, "Are you okay over there?" The reply was subtle but loud enough to be heard. "It's Richard." We all looked at each other confused because he was supposed to be with the girls. He called out again, "It's Richard," and it definitely sounded like him. Chris told him to stop messing around, and we carried on walking, and I looked back after no more than 5 to 10 seconds, and he was gone. Completely. No way there was enough time to just disappear without seeing him run off. When we got back to the parking lot where the girls were waiting, we told Richard we saw him in the woods and asked why he yelped. He looked at us with a dead straight face and said, "Seriously guys, I was here the whole time," and the girls confirmed it. We all just shrugged it off. The three of them were in on the joke. They got us. Only now do I realize exactly how creepy this event really was, as well as wondering what yelped out in those woods. Number 1. The Slide Rock Boulder. Over the years, we've heard about some of the encounters people have had in Colorado with what they say is Bigfoot. But back in the 1800s, legend has it there was another monster living deep in the Rocky Mountains. Known as the Slide Rock Boulder, this Colorado cryptid resembles a large whale-like creature with a huge head, small eyes, a hooked tail, and very large mouth. The mountain monster was first talked about by miners and lumberjacks that were working near the slopes back in the day. Stories say that the Slide Rock Boulder would sit at a 45-degree angle, latched onto the rocks, until it spotted tourists. It would then use its powerful body to slide down and swallow them up, and after, with the help of its hooked tail, would climb its way back into the mountains. It was apparently responsible for at least 10 missing tourists a year, and some even say that the monster completely destroyed the mining town of Rico during one of its feasts. When tourists weren't around, the Slide Rock Boulder would eat anything else in its path, like bear, deer, and elk.